Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so your friends see it. Thank you.
Breaking: White House on lockdown after shots fired. The White House was put in lockdown on Saturday after a person reportedly shot themselves outside on the North Lawn. The Secret Service tweeted on Saturday that they were responding to the incident, which occurred at the North Lawn at around noon. Media which were in place there tweeted that they were being told to shelter until further notice. "We are sheltering in place at the White House briefing room. A report of shots fired near North Lawn, per a U.S. Secret Service agent. Trying to learn more," tweeted NBC's White House correspondent Geoff Bennett. "The president is at Mar-a-Lago for the weekend." Secret Service personnel are responding to reports of a person who allegedly suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound along the north fence line of White House. No other reported injuries related to the incident, the Secret Service tweeted. A person is reported to have shot themselves outside the White House in Washington, the U.S. Secret Service says. It tweeted that agents were responding to reports of a person who allegedly suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound outside the north fence. President Donald Trump is in Florida at his Mar-a-Lago estate. He is scheduled to return to Washington. Last week, a car drove into a security barrier outside the building. President Trump, the First Lady and their son Barron are all currently in Florida, although POTUS was scheduled to return to Washington, D.C., Saturday evening to deliver a speech. The president has allegedly been briefed on the situation. Fox News reports that the situation appears to have ended, as Secret Service responders are not carrying rifles. This is a developing story. Rand Paul makes move to get rid of federal gun-free zones. Places where guns aren't allowed are the only targets I would consider if I were a crazed, mentally ill killer like alleged murderer Nicolas Cruz or any shooters before him, for one simple reason: because I probably won't face any opposition to my rampage. But still, for some reason, liberal anti-gunners refuse to believe that gun-free zones are not helping their perceived gun violence problem. You think gang shootings in Chicago would stop if the city made it a gun-free zone, which, as far as gun control laws are concerned, it's pretty close to gun-free already. Looks like Rand Paul wants to do something about the federally designated gun-free zones. Washington Examiner reports. Senator Rand Paul, RCI, introduced legislation on Thursday that would repeal a 1990 law banning guns from school zones, a move that fits with his push to arm teachers and other school personnel so they can prevent school shootings like the one that took place in Florida last month. Paul's bill would repeal the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990 and all amendments to that law. The law bans weapons in and around all public and private K-12 schools, with limited exceptions. Its supporters say the law is needed to reduce violence at schools. But Paul is a longtime advocate of allowing some teachers to be armed, and has argued along with other conservatives that current law makes schools easy targets for mass shootings. In early 2013, just weeks after the Sandy Hook shooting that left 26 people dead, including 20 elementary school kids, Paul said it was time to arm teachers. "If my kids were at that school, I would have preferred that the teachers had concealed carry and had a gun in her desk," Paul said then, according to USA Today. Is it perfect? No. Would they always get the killer? No. Would an accident sometimes happen in a melee? Maybe. But nobody had any defense, and he just kept shooting until he was tired and he decided to shoot himself, he said of the Connecticut shooting. Share this everywhere if you agree with Rand Paul's actions. Planned Parenthood to spend at least $20 million on midterm elections. Planned Parenthood is rolling out its largest campaign ever for a midterm election this year, focusing on 8 states with close races for state and federal offices. The organization's political entities, Planned Parenthood Action Fund and Planned Parenthood Votes, are set to spend $20 million on elections in those 8 states, and officials told CNN that number is likely to climb even higher before Election Day. Planned Parenthood chose to target states with competitive Senate and governor's races as a part of a 2-for-1 strategy to shape Congress and also help Democrats in 2020 redistricting efforts. "This is our last chance to flip some of those governors' seats before redistricting," said Deirdre Seifling, executive director of Planned Parenthood Votes. "A lot of those states have governors who have been terrible for women, terrible for access to reproductive health care." The initial 8 states being targeted are Arizona, Florida, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Planned Parenthood's cash makes it one of the Democratic Party's largest outside spenders. The Women's March after President Donald Trump's inauguration, and its one-year anniversary march this year, helped raise the organization's profile, and Republicans have failed to defund the nation's largest abortion provider, despite their pledges to do so. According to CNN, Planned Parenthood sees Arizona and Nevada as particularly important. Senator Jeff Flake, R., Arizona, is stepping down, while Senator Dean Heller, R., Nevada, is running for re-election in a state that Hillary Clinton won in 2016. Planned Parenthood argues that former Nevada Representative Joe Heck fell in his 2016 Senate bid because he supported defunding the organization. Some House races in California, New Jersey, New York, and Texas may also be targets in 2018. Planned Parenthood is also supporting pro-choice candidates in some Democratic primaries, such as Marie Newman, who is running against pro-life Illinois Representative Dan Lipinski. The group's digital program in these states will focus on engaging voters that are young, minorities, and female, and the organization hopes it will foster greater activism. Gowdy directs Schumer with facts after he voted no on Trump nominee because he was white. Chuck Schumer refused to confirm a Trump judicial nominee based solely on his skin color, but Representative Trey Gowdy, RSC, helpfully corrected the top Democrat with something he doesn't encounter very often: facts. Schumer admitted on the Senate floor earlier this week that he would not vote to approve the nomination of Marvin Quattlebaum for a vacancy on the U.S. District Court for the District of South Carolina, because he is white and is replacing 2 minority nominees of former President Barack Obama's. Quattlebaum replaces not 1, but 2 scuttled Obama nominees who were African American, he said. The implication was clear: Trump was supposedly scuttling, the black nominees out and replacing them with his preferred white nominee. The implication, however, was void of facts. Gowdy to the rescue. Indeed, Gowdy is referring to Obama's first choice for the seat, Judge Allison Lee, whose judicial competence was called into question when she lowered the bond for a pair of criminals who were released and subsequently murdered people, as well as his second nominee, Justice Donald Beatty, who became Chief Justice of the South Carolina Supreme Court in February of 2017. Those don't exactly sound like people who were scuttled. Gowdy also called Schumer out for his political and racial grandstanding, citing another white nominee in South Carolina that the New York Democrat didn't oppose. Gowdy finished by dropping a factual people's elbow on Schumer, then going for the pin with a little snark. Marvin Quattlebaum is uniquely well qualified for the bench and universally respected by all in South Carolina, he said. Hopefully Senator Schumer can find a way to look at really unusual factors, like qualifications, in the future. Don't hold your breath, Mr. Gowdy. Facts and merit don't matter in today's Democrat Party. Like and share this post if you enjoyed Gowdy's epic beatdown of Crying Chuck. Devin Newness drops a MOAB on the Russia investigation, claims there is evidence of collusion. Republican Representative Devin Newness of California shared some startling news about the Russia investigation Saturday, claiming there was clear evidence of collusion on Fox News' Cavuto Live. Newness said he welcomes more investigators to look into Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, court abuses and said he is glad the Inspector General is getting involved. "We have a media that pretty much refuses to cover this issue at all. We have serious abuses that occurred in the FISA court against the Trump campaign," Newness said. "We continue to get facts. We will bring those facts forward as we see them." Newness said there is evidence of collusion, but added it occurred between the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton, while the Russians and had nothing to do with President Donald Trump. "I welcome anybody to come help investigate, because so far it's only the House Intelligence Committee Republicans who are actually doing anything to get to the bottom of who is colluding with Russia," he concluded. "The more we peel this back, we have clear evidence of collusion, but it's not between the Trump campaign, it's between the Democratic Party and the Hillary campaign and the Russians." Remember a year ago, Democrats were claiming that they had more than circumstantial evidence of collusion, of Trump colluding with Russians, but they keep coming up with goose eggs. "They have nothing," Newness said on Fox and Friends Monday. "And so, what do? They attack people who are trying to get to the truth, people like myself." Newness said he enjoys the criticism from Democrats and the media because it confirms he is doing something right. "We actually enjoy the criticism because when you're being criticized like this by all the major networks, and being attacked by the left, we know that we're getting close to the truth," he said. The Republican congressman said this is just the beginning and promised more intelligence on former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party about their involvement in federal government corruption. "The American people are just beginning to learn the truth about the Hillary campaign and the Democratic Party and their involvement in how they corrupted our institutions," Newness concluded. Democratic lawmaker served 47-count felony conviction by federal jury. This is hands down one of the biggest political scandals of this century, but no one in the media is talking about it. Another day, another Democrat outed as a criminal. When are we going to be free of this vile party? It seems like almost all liberals are up to something. If it's not sexual harassment, it's fraud, or money laundering, or cheating money out of charities, or violating the U.S. Constitution to spy on a presidential candidate. The latest Democrat to fall was found guilty of serious crimes. He abused his position to get rich quick. And the penalty is appropriately severe. He's not going to see daylight for a long time. From Fox News. A Pennsylvania mayor faces decades behind bars after he was convicted Thursday of rigging city contracts in an effort to raise money for his political campaigns. Allentown Mayor Ed Pavlovsky was found guilty on 47 of 54 charges he faced, including conspiracy, bribery, fraud, attempted extortion and lying to the FBI. He faces up to 20 years in prison on each count. In short, Pavlovsky can easily get life in prison. As well he should. The verdict forces Pavlovsky out as mayor of Pennsylvania's third-largest city. He had held the post for the past 12 years. Pavlovsky was the architect behind a scheme to rig city contracts for legal, engineering, technology and construction work, aimed at boosting campaign funds for his statewide political ambitions, prosecutors said. Pavlovsky, who won re-election in November while under indictment and began his fourth term in January, took the stand in his own defense and insisted he'd done nothing wrong. The prosecution had secret audio recordings that proved Pavlovsky conducted these schemes. Yet his defense claimed what he did was not uncommon. Yeah, for Democrats. You can't throw a rock without hitting a corrupt liberal. As it turns out, Pavlovsky is a Chicago native. Lol, really? Is everyone from that town a crook? Chicago politics are so dirty, they are sending con artists into other states to commit crimes. It's almost like a parody at this point. The punishment for Pavlovsky's crime sounds heavy. He faces 20 years for each of the counts charged against him. That will amount to the rest of his life. Was it worth it, Pavlovsky? Not only is your career over, but you'll probably never see the outside of a jail cell again. The real crime is that there are still other politicians out there breaking the law. Hopefully, this story is a lesson to them to quit their heinous crimes before justice comes to haunt them.